All right, so for this next example, they're telling you the circumference of a ball is 13 centimeters, and they want you to find the surface area. Okay? So when they give you circumference, I would write out the formula for circumference. Circumference equals, since we're looking for radius, I would go with the 2 pi r, right? So you're going to plug 13 in for C. And we're going to solve for r. So how do I get r by itself? Divide out 2 pi, right? So I'm going to divide out 2 pi. So that leaves me with r, but you're going to need your calculator. You're going to do 13 divided by the quantity 2 pi. You might want to use parentheses for that. And maybe round to the hundredth on that because you're going to plug it back in. So 2.07, yes? So 2.07 is the radius of our sphere. So for the surface area, we want the formula 4 pi r squared. So we're going to take what we just found for the radius and plug it in. So that would be 4 times pi times 2.07 squared. And this one is to the nearest whole number. So if you plug all this in, you should get 53.79, etc., which should round to 54 square centimeters. The last example we're going to do, and then I'm going to give you time to work, is we're going to use a volume to go back and find the surface area. Okay? Right. So if you're starting with volume, I would write down the formula for volume, including the V. Okay, write down the entire formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. In this problem, they give you the volume. Volume is 5,000 cubic units, I think meters in this case. Okay, so you go to your formula, and we're going to plug 5,000 in. So we have 5,000 equals 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay. The rest of this is just algebra, but this is where people usually get bogged down. They can usually plug in the volume, but it's the solving process. Our goal is to get r cubed by itself, so we can take the cube root, and your calculator will do that for you. But first of all, you need to get rid of 4/3. How do you get rid of 4/3? Multiply by the reciprocal, right? So if we multiply both sides by 3/4, which is a nice decimal, you can use 0.75 if you want. Okay, those will cancel out. So if you want to do 0.75 times 5,000, that would be a quick way to take care of times 3 and divided by 4. So 0.75 times 5,000 is 3750. Otherwise, you would have to multiply by 3 and divide by 4 if you didn't remember to use 0.75. Now, you've got to get rid of pi. How do I get rid of pi? Divide out pi. You're going to get a nice decimal here, 0.66, and it goes on. I would leave that in your calculator, okay? Now here's where you need to get to know your calculator. On the calculator that I'm looking at, well, okay, let me look at the classroom set. Okay, above your exponent key, I know it's kind of hard with the glare. Do you guys see right here? Above the exponent key, I have a little radical. It's got x radical y. That is your root key. Okay, it's right above the exponent key. So it looks like this. You use it like an exponent key, except it's taking the root. You have to tell it what root. So if I want the cube root, I would have that number in, and I would hit, so my keystrokes would be this. I'd leave that number in. I would hit this key next. On this calculator, you'd have to do second to get to that key. And then I'd put 3 in, because what the 3 does is it tells it I want to take the cube root. Okay, I want to see what multiplies 3 times to give me this number. Now on a graphing calculator, there is actually a cube root function. Yep, some calculators do have them. So if you take the cube root of this number and you do it correctly, you should get r equals 10.6. Actually 10.607, so maybe we'll use 6.1 for your radius. You're not done, because all that gives you is the radius. We're finding the surface area, so you're going to have to take your radius and plug it back in to the surface area formula, which is 4 pi r squared. So while this decimal is in your calculator, it might be a smart move to square it, right? So if you leave that in and square it, and then multiply by your 4 pi. Which part? To find the cube root? Okay. Let me look at your calculators separately. What you should get once you get to this point is a surface area of 14.04792. But if it's to the nearest whole number, okay, so we'll leave it there. So that would be square meters. Okay.